Good evening and thanks for joining us on another episode of Up in the Air. I'm Noah Bergen and I'm joined here on the desk with my good friend Chris Landolfi. Chris, this weekend is the first game that our Nittany Lions will be on the road in Iowa City, Iowa.
Yeah, but if you are staying local, we do have Kellyanne class later today who will give us the weekend update.
Yeah, with the first week of fall, hopefully it'll be a nice weekend to stay back in State College and cheer on those Nittany Lions.
Absolutely.
But we'll have all that and more, but first, here's Update in the Air.
In the Amazon rainforest, few animals are as dangerous to humans as mosquitoes that transmit malaria. The tropical disease can bring on high fever, headaches, and chills, and is particularly severe for children and the elderly. In rainforest-covered Peru, the number of malaria cases has spiked. In the past 5 years, the country has had, on average, the second highest rate in South America. In each of the years 2014 and 2015, there were 65,000 reported cases. To tackle this problem, university researchers have turned to data from NASA's fleet of Earth-observing satellites, which are able to track the types of human and environmental events that typically precede an outbreak. Predicting where these mosquitoes will flourish relies on identifying areas with warm air temperatures and calm waters, such as ponds and puddles, which they need for laying eggs. While not identifying puddles and ponds outright, satellite data shows where they are very likely to form. For example, flooding may overflow riverbanks, or heavy rains can saturate the soil, allowing water to pool. While this project is focused on malaria, researchers say it is adaptable as the population models can be used for tackling not only malaria, but also a number of other diseases such as Zika.
Researchers have published the first analysis looking at how vulnerable the world's freshwater and marine fishes are to climate change. Their study used physiological data to predict how nearly 3,000 fish species living in oceans and rivers will respond to warming temperatures in the ocean. Climate change will force many amphibians, mammals, and birds to move to cooler areas outside of their normal ranges, provided they can find space and a clear trajectory among other urban developments in our growing cities. The researchers compiled data from lab experiments involving nearly 500 fish species conducted over the past 80 years by researchers around the world. These standardized experiments measure the highest temperatures fish are able to tolerate before they die. This analysis is the first time these disparate data lab experiments have been combined and translated to predict how fish will respond in the wild. Currently, dams and other infrastructure may block fish from getting where they might need to be in the future. Fish ladders and other means do allow fish to circumvent these barriers and could be more readily used, although the effectiveness of these structures is highly variable. Looking forward, continued efforts to support conservation strategies that allow species to respond to these rapid changes are needed.
As the world looks to a renewable power revolution, China is taking the reins and replacing their old coal power. China is now the owner of the largest solar farm in the world. What's interesting about this farm is it sits on a lake that was once a coal mine. The plant has 12,000 solar panels and spans across an area the size of more than 160 football fields. It could help power 15,000 homes for an entire year. The cost of this farm alone was $45 million, according to Quartz. Despite the higher price tag, floating solar panels can be placed on a surface that's otherwise unusable, and they work more efficiently. The water helps to cool the panels while they work to generate electricity. Additionally, the panels help shield the water from evaporating in the sun, which helps the lake to stay full longer. This solar farm is just one of the ways that China is working to improve air quality throughout the country and become less dependent on fossil fuels. China has announced it will be stopping more than 100 coal-fired power plants and suspending plans to build new ones in an effort to clean up the smog that chokes its cities.
Studying hurricane and tropical storm development from 3 million years ago might give today's forecasters a good blueprint for 21st century storms, says a team of international researchers from Texas A&M University. The team studied storm development from the Pillow Cone era, roughly 3 million years ago, and chose that time because this period was the last time that planet Earth had as much carbon dioxide as it does now, and the changes in climate from it can play a major role in storm formation and intensity. These researchers also know now, though, that there has been some uncertainty where waters were warmest throughout history. Their study found that the increase in average intensity and in poleward expansion occurred regardless of where the greatest change in temperatures occurred during this era. The study adds more evidence to the fact that future storms are likely to be stronger in their intensity and to remain strong even as they move out of the tropics.
In the devastation left by Hurricane Irma, many Floridians looked to return to their homes to assess damages. Problems still arose for the nearly 6.5 million people who were ordered to evacuate from Florida. Many parts of the state were still covered, either in floodwater or debris, and more than 2 million were still without power. Gas stations around the state did not have fuel, and airports were running at very limited capacity. People still understandably wanted to return to their homes, which created problems for officials. Traffic jams had already formed the following Tuesday throughout Florida and southern Georgia, as millions of evacuated residents flooded back into the state in the aftermath of Irma. In Georgia, the Department of Transportation said that traffic volumes on I-75 were already triple what's normal. Officials were trying to convince residents to stay off the roads as conditions of the roads are still being assessed. For instance, the rapidly rising Santa Fe River could cause fresh chaos for Hurricane Irma evacuees returning home to South Florida. According to the Florida Department of Transportation, the I-75 bridge over the Santa Fe River near the mile marker 408 in northern Florida, while safe and passable at the moment, could be completely flooded soon.
Like trick-or-treaters sorting their Halloween candy haul, fox squirrels, such as this guy right here, organize their stashes of nuts by variety, quality, and possibly even preference, according to new research. Squirrels use a process referred to as chunking to organize their favorite nuts. They do this using sophisticated memorizing strategies to sort their bounty, similar to the cognitive strategy in which humans and other animals organize spatial, linguistic, numeric, or other information into smaller, more manageable collections, such as subfolders on a computer. Using handheld GPS navigators, researchers tracked the squirrels from their starting location to their ending location, then mapped the distribution of nut types and catching locations to detect patterns. Meanwhile, some squirrels moving in multiple locations deliberately avoided certain areas where they had already buried nuts. Go figure, squirrels actually use this chunking process the same way you put away your groceries. You might put fruit on one shelf and vegetables on another, just like the squirrel in your backyard. Thanks for sticking with us. We now have a special feature from meteorologist Lydia Knox on food waste.
Have you ever had your parents reprimand you for not finishing a meal? Or have you ever been so hungry that you fill up your plate and end up only being able to eat half of it? Food waste is more expensive than you may think. According to the National Environmental Education Foundation, food loss is defined as the amount of food available for consumption that is not consumed. In 2010, 133 billion pounds of food that were grown, harvested, and brought to places like grocery stores and restaurants were lost to factors such as mold, pests, and waste. While food loss includes factors that we can't always control, such as moisture loss, food waste refers specifically to edible food that is discarded due to its appearance. Ron Ravancic is a member of the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in State College and is helping to combat the amount of food waste on a weekly basis.
We serve a free meal. We call it the Community Cafe every Thursday. We've been doing this for 7 years or something like that every single Thursday. And the idea was just to serve people who might need a free meal, and also to try to make sure it's kind of a nice place to have dinner. So a lot of church members are here.
Fortunately, many local grocery stores and restaurants are willing to donate.
Trader Joe's, Weis, Wegmans, several restaurants around town will donate various things. So, Trader Joe's has a real active program, donating all sorts of things. Wegmans donates lots of dairy and produce. So Weis donates bakers. So yeah, they're happy to do it.
Some tips on how to help the reduction of food loss include buying only what you need, planning meals ahead of time, donating to your local food bank, and attempt creating your own compost pile.
We compost everything we can, and we have a member of the parish who's very much into compost and does a really nice job. So we can compost a lot of things.
By following these strategies, you can help combat food waste from your own kitchen counter. For Up in the Air, I'm Lydia Knox.
Welcome back to the show. So Noah, the end of summer is upon us. Tomorrow is the first day of fall. It's really weird, isn't it?
I know, I cannot believe it. It seems like just yesterday that we moved back into State College for the fall semester, and now it's time to be talking about pumpkin-spiced food and lattes.
Well, speaking of pumpkin spice, I hear Kellyanne is in our studio, and she makes a mean pumpkin spice cookie. Kellyanne, how you doing?
Chris, I'm great, and yes, that is true. I do make some awesome pumpkin spice cookies. But right around the corner is fall, and let's take a look at the average temperatures for the day before fall, September 21st. For the average high, 71 degrees, average low, 51. And the average precipitation for this time of month around September is 1.68 inches. Let's take a look at the temperature outlook. Most of the western United States is going to see below normal temperatures this coming week, mainly in Idaho. That's where the biggest swath of below normal temperatures is going to be. That does extend into Montana, Wyoming, Utah, as well as Nevada, but most of it is going to be located here in Idaho. Now, that doesn't mean that the rest of this area shaded in blue isn't going to see below normal temperatures, but the biggest difference is going to be right here in this dark blue area. Let's go on over to the east coast of the United States, mainly the central and east coast. You can see all the red and orange and pink. The pink is the biggest difference of the temperatures, and that extends all the way through the orange and yellow as well. Here in Pennsylvania, it's mostly including Pittsburgh. Here in State College, we're just right on the border of the pink shading and the red shading, but either way, within the next week or so, we are going to see above normal temperatures. Precipitation shows above normal precipitation for the northern parts of the United States. Most of the biggest difference is going to be in the North and South Dakota, as well as parts of Minnesota. But most of the green is going to see above normal, but the biggest difference, like I said, is going to be in the dark shaded areas. Now, here in Arizona, we are going to see below normal precipitation. That's the only area in the whole entire western United States that's going to see below. But then as we go to the east coast, you can really see the whole entire east coast is going to be below normal in precipitation within the next couple of weeks, including here in State College. Drought monitor is showing an exceptional drought here in Montana. That is the dark red and even the other reds, but we still have the yellow and the brown that still indicates that there is a drought, mostly throughout the northern plains here. But then let's take a look over here in the East Coast. So here, Hartford, Connecticut, also parts of Long Island. Here in State College, though, no drought. But like I said, Long Island, parts of Connecticut, including Boston and parts of Maine, they are going to see a small drought, not as much as Montana is seeing, but they are still going to have some drought conditions. Here is the weekend outlook. Absolutely beautiful for Saturday. Temperatures increase. We start with the low to mid 70s, and then by Sunday we are up to the mid to upper 70s, but we do have the chance for some rain on Sunday. But Saturday is going to be the best time to get outside and do some fall activities. I mean, I know I'm going to go pumpkin picking that weekend. How about you guys?
Yeah, with the great forecast you got there, it looks like pumpkin picking, and maybe we'll have to get the recipe for those pumpkin cookies as well, Kellyanne.
We will definitely need that recipe. Those cookies sound great. Well, for Kellyanne Class and Noah Berggren, I'm Chris Landolfi. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week, Up in the Air.